Justice League of America's Vibe number 8, written by Sterling Gates, art by Andre Guinaldo. So last issue we had, I think it was Rupture, is the brother of Vibe, stole Vibe and Gypsy and started dragging him through the multiverse. This issue picks up with Vibe recounting what he remembers. How did we end up here in wherever here is? And we see Gem World from Sword of Sorcery, aka Amethyst, which I loved that book, and I was so sad to see it go, but we're getting it back here, and we just see this big fight between the Gems of Amethyst and House Quartz, and it's an all-out fight, and we see Amethyst, Princess Amaya, coming into the fight, jumping in. She gets attacked by this giant quartz monster that breaks her arm, and she screams out in pain, but as she screams out, all of the gems, all the quartz start shaking and rupturing as this beam of energy flies around them. And as Amaya lands, she's like, what in the hell is this? Who's doing all this? And standing in the battlefield is Cisco, just throwing off energy, saying, please, someone, help me. And the voice, whoever he's recounting this to, is like, no, that's when we found you. What happened before that? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And we get a bunch of like in and out panels of him losing consciousness, gaining consciousness. And we see that as he was dragged through the multiverse by Armando, Rupture, he had his energy being drained out of his chest. But when he ran out of energy, he was just dumped into the bleed, basically. And Armando was leaving him for dead. So he floats through. He sees all these different realities. He sees like Earth 2. He sees the Warlord universe, a bunch of other stuff. We also get a single quote in here that I just have to point out where it says, not in the name of the Doc, and then it cuts off. Doctor Who is apparently canon to the DC multiverse, which I don't think it can be, but apparently it is. I actually checked. This issue came out 3 months after the name of the Doctor, where that quote came from. So I see you, Sterling Gates. I know what you're doing. Anyway, he just kind of goes through the multiverse and then ends up appearing, or he sees a bunch of different worlds until finally he ends up floating into Gem World. And as he shows up there, we see, the whole fight happened. And then Amaya comes up being like, wait a minute. I know you. You're from Justice League America. I'm from Justice League Dark. Crazy. Anyway, what's going on with you? And everyone's like, oh, he's dangerous, am I? And he's like, no, he's cool. And he goes to like shake his hand, basically. And he grabs hold of her wrist. And then all of a sudden, this huge spark of energy comes off of Amaya. And it gives him some amount of a charge. And then all of a sudden, there's this portal that opens up. And out steps Breacher from like issue 3. And he's like, hey, Cisco, tried to warn you. I'm here to save you now. And Amaya falls down. Cisco is grabbed by Breacher. He puts a essentially arc reactor onto Cisco's chest, but it's something about a energy stabilizer. And then all of a sudden he stops throwing off massive amounts of energy. He's like, oh, hey, I'm okay. That's cool. Breacher's like, yep, now come on. And they zoop out of there. And Amaya is like, hey, yeah, no, don't worry about me. I'm cool. Everything's fine. So then we meet Breacher, Cisco, and his little ragtag group made up of Price, Vic, and Nilo. And Breacher says, okay, now that we got the whole story, now we know how you're here, you're going to help us. And he's like, no, I'm not going to help you. I have to go find Gypsy. I have to go save them. Also, what happened at Argus? What happened to Agent Gunn and Dante? And everyone else leaves. It's just Breacher and Cisco left in there and just be like, okay, what do you know about your powers? And he's like, oh, I was caught in a boom tube portal and me and Armando both got our powers from that. And he's like, right. Yes, that is technically true, but also not the total truth. You get your energy from like dimensional rifts and stuff like that. When Darkseid started portaling in all of his parademons, it weakened the universe. It weakened the barriers between them. And so energy was able to leak through. That's why you got your power so long afterwards. Like it only happened years after the fact because you had to let the energy leak into the universe. But now you do have your powers. Your brother, however, he was stuck on the other side of the portal. So he immediately got overcharged, super juiced with all of that energy. And he ended up on our planet. And we open up the blinds to the window and see the planet outside this room is just ruined. And it's like, yeah, he became Rupture. He was used by Mordeth and took over this planet of Pyradel. And so, yeah, it just basically goes over the recap saying, like, yep, nope, he was used to slaughter millions, anyone who stood up against him, and Mordeth. So, yeah. So at that point, they close the blinds again because they can be detected otherwise. And Cisco's like, oh, I don't believe it. This can't possibly, Armando couldn't have done all this. So he blasts Breacher and says, like, oh, it can't be the truth. You didn't answer any of my questions. You didn't tell me anything. Like, what happened to Gypsy? What happened to her? And he's like, you can't go home yet. Look, there's a block on our planet that stops us from being able to get to your planet. And at this point, the energy adapter starts overloading. And he's like, oh, crap. All right. We're going to have to seal him up, make it so his energy before he blows up entirely. And then Breacher's like, look, if you want the truth, here's the truth. And he takes off his helmet and says, you're not the first person to be injured dealing with these energies. And we see that his name, Breacher's name, is Quell Mordeth. He is the father of Gypsy, whose real name is Cynthia Mordeth. And the woman who is running Rupture is his wife. And she's now an evil queen of the planet. And so their job, this little ragtag group, is to kill his wife and take back the planet from them. Or else Rupture is going to invade and destroy Earth next. I gotta be honest, I am so happy to see Gemworld again. I don't even care about the fact that the rest of this issue is nothing but exposition. Like, it's just so much fun. Add on to that the Doctor Who quote. And I'm not even a huge Who fan, but like, I just noticed that one. I was like, hey, it all lines up timeline-wise. Super fun. Yeah, no, it's a solid issue. I do think that the back half is kind of like whatever. It's just, I think this was the point where they were told, you're getting canceled. You have 2 more issues, issue 9 and issue 10. Do whatever you need to do, but you're not getting more than that. And so we kind of just had to spend this entire issue being like, here's the villain I was building up to. Here's the stuff we need to get done. We're going to start next issue. And that's all it's going to be. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it all gets wrapped up, but this one definitely felt like it had to lean heavily into the expositionary dump rather than showing and like getting it slowly over time, because we don't have time anymore. But yeah, no, give me more Gemworld. That's all I want. Give me a follow-up. That's all I need. I'm going to say this is a solid 7. It's fine. The back half falls a lot more than the front half, but it's a necessary issue, I'm sure, for what we're going to get for the next 2. So 7 is where it falls.